Check if we're live. Okay, and we are live. So thank you so much, everyone, for patiently waiting for our Let Us Talk It live today. So a warm welcome from Let Us Talk It team. And yes, as mentioned from the previous Wednesday, we will bring you two new topics and two new great speakers today to share their insights and their knowledge of the topics that we have posted. So this is Phil, your host for Let Us Talk It, a platform where knowledge is free for everyone. So this initiative is made possible by Cogent Integrated Business Solutions, an IT company based in Detroit, Michigan, who wishes to share knowledge to everyone. So diverse form of knowledge as the company, or we believe that knowledge should be free. So feel free to join in this free knowledge sharing platform. You can join as a guest speaker, or you can join in as attendees, and you can collaborate with our speakers as well and interact in the form of asking questions or sharing your insights. So, for the first topic that we have today, we have how good people become toxic leaders. Yeah, of course, there are cases that happens that really power or influence will definitely make changes in the character or attitude of a single person. So, if they're given authority, you'll definitely see them. It's either they become humble or they will really insist to impose those authorities. So now we will learn that from our esteemed speaker that we have today, which is a founder and director of One Degree Training and Coaching Limited. His name is Andy Nisivic, and the topic is about exploring why it's so easy for good, honest, reliable, decent people to fall into the trap of becoming toxic leaders. So, our speaker spent 23 years in the United Kingdom's Royal Air Force, RAF, from the age of 19 for 20, more years. I mean, 20 plus years. He held leadership responsibility, and for 15 plus years, he was responsible for developing leaders. And the final post that he had was at the RAF's Leadership Training School as a facilitator and a brief period for as a unit executive. And more of that he will share about himself before we delve to the topic. And yes, well, bro, we're really looking forward for this topic. So without further ado, I'll give you the screen, Andy, so you can take over.
Thanks very much, Phil. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending where you're joining, where in the world you're joining from. I'm based in the UK, so it's evening for me over here. Yeah, really appreciate the introduction, Phil. Um, I consider myself a leadership development expert. A lot of people confuse what I do with coaching, with mentoring, training. Actually, what I do is a combination of everything. In my experience delivering leadership training for the RAF, when we train people, when we have really powerful discussions in the classroom, the way the brain works, actually, it's very difficult to translate that into the real world. Because if you think when you've got responsibility for other people, actually the part of the brain that's working is what's known as the limbic system. It's just behind the eyes, in between the ears. It's your filter to the world. It is purely there to protect you, and its motivation is to keep you safe, to keep you happy. So when we're in a difficult situation or an uncomfortable situation, and often when you've got responsibility for other people, you need to expose yourself to difficult or awkward circumstances during welfare conversations, discipline conversations, those sort of times. It's your limbic system that's the driving force there. So if its win is to get you out of that situation as quickly as possible, it doesn't matter how well or how poorly you handle that situation. If you handle it poorly but it gets you out of it quite quickly, actually your limbic system chalks that up to a win. It puts a tick in the box and thinks, right, if we're exposed to this situation again, this is the right thing to do. When we're in a classroom, sorry, excuse my background filter is messing up, so I do apologise for the screen there a little bit. When we're in a classroom and we're having logical conversations, we're in a safe environment. So the part of the brain that's operating there is what's known as the prefrontal cortex. That's where all your
Excuse
logical
me,
reason.
Andy.
Hello, yes.
Hi. Yeah, excuse me, Andy. I'm sorry to interrupt. If you don't mind, can you go a little slow?
Sure, my apologies.
Yeah. Thank you.
So when we're in a classroom environment, it's a safe environment. So the limbic system doesn't need to be on alert, so it calms down. And what it does is it allows the part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex to be in control. Now, that part of the brain is where all your logic is, your reasoning, your rationale, your intelligence, your learning. So when you're theoretically exploring leadership theories, you can have some really, really powerful conversations and talk about what the right thing to do, what the wrong thing to do is, how you would theoretically handle these situations. So it feels often like when you've been trained as a leader, that you know the right thing to do. The problem is when you're in the moment, it's a completely different part of the brain that's working, and that part of the brain, the limbic system, there is no learning there. There's no language there. So this is one of the reasons why it's extremely common for people to be very well trained as leaders. So in the UK's qualification matrix, you've got level 5, which is kind of degree level, up to level 7, which is kind of your master's degree level. So it's very, very common for people to be trained all the way up to level 7 within leadership, but actually be really poor leaders. Because what they've done is that they've gone through a training program rather than actually had that made real to them in the real world. Now, the other factor that we've got to consider when it comes to how easy it is for good people to become toxic leaders is that often people are promoted to a management position based on their potential. So usually the stereotypical promotion metric is how good somebody is at their current job. So let's say they're in a mid-level position and they're really, really good at that. So in order to reward them, they get offered a promotion, which is fair enough, isn't it? Everybody deserves recognition for doing a good job. However, what the reality of that is that they're promoted out of a job they were very good at into one that they've got no experience in, no training for, and they're expected to deliver from day one. Now, what that does is it creates an awful lot of stress, an awful lot of pressure on that individual. So if we remember what we talked about, the way the brain works, that limbic system suddenly feels very, very uncomfortable. So when we have a newly promoted person who's feeling uncomfortable, they've not been trained, they're learning something new, they're all of a sudden in a position where they are responsible for other people, they are responsible for the results that other people are performing to, that limbic system becomes very defensive. So again, its only motivation is to protect you. So it's very, very easy then for that part of the brain to put us into blame. Rather than looking at what we can do as a leader in order to improve ourselves, we often then start looking at other people. And again, if that then translates into difficult conversations, the limbic system with no learning, no intelligence, no rational thought, if we handle those situations poorly but get out of it, it teaches us that that's the right thing to do in the future. So how do we prevent that from happening? Well, we talked about leadership training. Leadership training is really, really important. If you're a senior person and you're looking to promote people to management positions, it's really important to train them. But leadership development starts well before the leadership training starts. Leadership training is an important step. However, it's not the only step, and it's certainly not the first step. The first thing that we need to look at is what is the culture of the company that we want, and also then be honest with ourselves, what is the reality of the culture. So culture is something that is really easy to talk about, but really hard to achieve. A really easy way to think about what the culture within your company is how do your staff feel about going into work on a Monday morning when they're getting ready for bed on a Sunday night? If your staff are going to bed on a Sunday night, a little bit low energy, maybe even depressed about the idea of going into work the next day, that's an indicator that the culture isn't an effective one. So how do we embed that culture? That starts with values. So values are far more than things that just look nice on websites, that are that look nice on paraphernalia and nice words that we say. An effective value is something that if you don't live up to that particular value, it bothers you. Now, when that becomes something that's really embedded into the organizational behaviors, the standards, the way that you hold yourself to account, the way you hold other people to account, then that means that at day one, when somebody joins your company and those values are instilled in them, so long as that person shares those values, then actually that culture becomes something that's a lot easier. So that as they progress with their career, as they develop and they improve and they become somebody that's ready to promote, you're promoting somebody based on a set of values that are in line with the culture that you're trying to achieve. When you get that right, then actually it becomes far easier for you to create leadership embedded into that culture that means that people can thrive within that, rather than just feeling lots and lots of pressure about having to achieve results, but not knowing how to motivate people, how to inspire people. What questions has anybody? I'm conscious that I've been speaking for 15 to 20 minutes. What questions has anybody got so far on that?
I don't have questions actually. Well, I was just trying to share that like it made sense right now. Like I know a few who have been, yeah, who got the promotion, and they their approach was different, so that made sense.
Cool. Right. One thing one thing that I've seen, particularly junior leaders, be guilty of quite often is thinking that leadership is about authority. It's about being in charge. It's about I'm the leader, therefore you have to do what I say. But actually, if we think about what the definition of leadership is, the definition of leadership is the ability to inspire, motivate, and encourage people to achieve more than what they thought they were capable of. There's nothing in the definition about telling people what to do or being in charge. That's management. So you get promoted to a management position. Now, every manager needs to be a good leader in order to be able to effectively motivate their team. But actually, not every leader needs to be a manager. You think about a 16-year-old school leaver who's joined the company, who might be an absolute genius when it comes to using computer systems, for example. They might have a fantastic idea about a new system or process that you can implement that's going to save you 50% of time by automating loads of procedures. That knowledge that person got can inspire and motivate a whole raft of organizational change that's going to make lives a lot easier and a lot better for people. In essence, that's leadership. It's being able to inspire, motivate, and encourage people to want to perform, to want to put the effort in. When you've got a great leader, then you don't need to order people to put in extra efforts. If you've got a project that's behind time and you're risking missing deadlines and maybe contractual penalties for that, a great leader is able to inspire people to want to put the hard work in to make sure that project gets over the line. If you've just got somebody who's a manager but not a leader, then that manager is going to have to rely on incentives and bonuses or maybe threats in order to make sure people put in the extra efforts to get the projects over the line. Leadership has got nothing to do with authority. A great leader can come from absolutely anywhere, and anyone No matter how introverted or extroverted you are, a great leader can be anyone. We just need to teach people how to recognize the skills that they have intrinsically in order to be able to use those as a motivation and a form of inspiration for everybody else. I am conscious that there's another speaker due to come up, so I don't want to hog too much of the time. So I'm quite happy to either field any questions that anybody has, or to relinquish the spotlight to the next speaker.
Yes. We are actually still communicating with the other speaker. So if you have some few add-ons to fill in some few time, that's because she hasn't came online yet. So yeah,
Okay.
if you have some few
Yeah,
additions,
no
please
problem
continue.
at all. No problem at all. So one of the things when I was in the Royal Air Force and I was teaching their leadership training courses, one of the things that was really obvious to me is that our leadership training was world class. It was absolutely second to none. What we taught, the way that we taught it, was absolutely brilliant. However, we also had lots of stories and complaints about examples of really, really terrible leadership. So as a facilitator of that training, I really struggled to understand why that was. If the training is so good, surely the leadership should be equally as good. And that's when I went on a personal development journey, learning about how the mind works, the neuroscience of learning, the chemistry behind why people act in certain ways. And one thing that I really discovered was when I started training to be a coach. Now, coaching is something that's become kind of internationally recognized as a really, really powerful medium, but it also means that there's an awful lot of people that call themselves coaches that aren't actually coaches. And we really need to distinguish how we're employing people in order to develop our leaders. So yes, we need to provide the training, but then the thing that makes the real difference between training somebody to know lots of things, the difference between training somebody to know lots of things or developing people to actually be able to do the job. And that's where mentoring and coaching comes in absolutely brilliantly. The leadership development program that I've developed, for example, is a combination of training, coaching, mentoring, team performance work, psychometric assessments to raise self-awareness. And that's one thing that I'd really encourage you to look at. I know there's a variety of people at different positions within their organizations on these calls, but really look at what is the leadership development process that you've got within your organization. Who are the people that are mentoring those new leaders? Who are those people that are mentoring the senior leaders, the senior managers? Because it's a new level. If we're promoting somebody from middle management into senior management, there's a whole raft of new challenges, new perspectives that they have to have. So who's providing that mentorship? Who's providing the ongoing coaching, the ongoing development? But what skills and what knowledge have they got in order to be able to do that? So that's really the thing that I've noticed has made the difference. It's the thing that was missing in the Air Force, was that ongoing mentorship of leadership. And it's the one thing that I noticed that the most successful organizations that I've spoken to or I've become aware of since I started up my training or since I started up my business is those people that actually have that really effective mentorship, that ongoing development that goes on beyond just training. They're the ones that are really hitting new heights. There was a study released, I think it was last year, it was released by Gallup, who are a worldwide consultancy company, and they did a state of the workforce survey. They said that organizations that provide ongoing development, ongoing coaching and mentoring on average see a 23% increase in revenue. So that shows you just kind of think what difference would 23% additional revenue make to you, and how can you ensure that the people that are in the positions to provide that mentorship, how can you ensure that they've actually got the skills, the knowledge and ability to provide that and make it professional? I'm quite open to any questions or any challenges if you think what I've said, if you disagree with anything you said, or if you'd like me to clarify anything, I'm quite happy to go there.
Yeah, I encourage anyone from the attendees. Yeah, if you can just type it or you can unmute.
Yeah, thank you, Serena. I hope I've said that right, by the way, Serena.
Yes, the first time what you said, Srini.
Serena, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, like Andy, if I may have a question, only one question is there any a practical example of a corporate customer or something, like where you can explain how these principles are applied and what is before and what is after this mindset and coaching?
Certainly, if I've understood the question rightly, I can give you a case study of a business I've been working with since November last year.
Yes.
They're actually they were the first company that I onboarded. I started the business in October last year, so these were the first company, and they're now the biggest customer that I have. They are a manufacturer of insulation for the building trade, so for houses to improve insulation, drive down costs of heating, etc. And they were doing well. They were averaging around about £12 million in revenue every single year. So they weren't a huge corporate organization, but they were, as a medium-sized business, they were doing quite well. The CEO, his objective was to build the business to £30 million in revenue and then sell it, or promote himself to chairman of the board and then hand over day-to-day running of the business. So he wanted to nearly treble the size of the company, and he asked me to come in to work with initially two of the senior leaders in order to get them to a position where one of them might take over. When I came in, I noticed that actually the general attitude of the individuals, of the people there, were good. They all had really positive intent. They were nice people who wanted the best for everybody. And people were getting on. There was no alarming problems from a personnel point. There was nobody that I would really term that toxic leader. But what they didn't know really was how to get the best out of people. So one of the first things that I did is I did a couple of psychometric assessments of personality profiles with them, so they could understand what it is that motivated both themselves as leaders, but also then the people they're responsible for. And what we noticed is that people who were more motivated by data, they people who loved being able to take their time and analyze information, people who loved spreadsheets, for example, they were in roles that were very, very dynamic and very, very fast paced. And then the people who were naturally quite fast paced, quick decision makers, they were in very strategic roles that needed a lot of analysis. So just by pure coincidence, just by the recruitment that they made, they just hired people who just weren't motivated by the needs of the roles. So they were doing an okay job, but they weren't really performing because they weren't motivated by the needs. So what we did was we did a little bit of training. We just swapped people's responsibility. It's one of the first things that we looked at. And when we managed to get people trained up to an ability where the people who were analytical into jobs that required analysis, and those people who were fast acting dynamic into roles that required that rapid decision making and that ability to change direction quite quickly, then all of a sudden that department started taking off. And then we mirrored that across every department. I've now got every member of their senior leadership team working with me, and the difference that that has made is, instead of going from 12 million to 30 million within 5 years, actually they're on course to achieve that next year. And that's the difference that you can make once you understand how to lead effectively, and understand that it's not just about being a nice person or being a good person. It's about recognizing how deep core in ourselves, how we're motivated, what compels us, how our team members prefer to work, how they're motivated, and put the right motivation within the right kind of role, then results can take off. There was far more potential within that company than they realized, just because they didn't have that deep level of an awareness of who they were and who their people were.
Yeah, Andy, that's excellent points. Actually, I think I like that proactive approach of setting the priorities and then orienting the whole process to fit into that. So
Yeah.
I think that's great. Thank you so much, and we'll stay in touch with you offline.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking.
And yeah, there could have been some issues that the other speaker have experienced. Maybe have turned off like the device and experienced some updates. I do not really know. I tried calling out, but it appears that she's not responding or maybe coming back. But we'll still give time. So I am also curious in one thing. Like you are in a lower position. You notice that the person in command that is not, he or she is now very effective, and then you have this kind of information that you just shared. You have the idea of like what the leader should be, what should be doing, and the attitude, and then you on a lower position, like you worry about your position in that company. So how do you call out someone? How do you call out a person in command that is not doing this or needs further improvement or some or whatnot?
It's a great question, Phil, and I'm sure many other people will have experienced that, where they've got a manager who says the right things but actually doesn't carry that out, and a lot of that comes from trust, but also from that manager's perspective. Maybe they're a poor values alignment. And the easiest way, or the most effective way, really, to challenge people who are senior to you is to look at the values of the organization. One of the most underused tools that leaders have is aligning values to the behavior and the output of people. And one of the reasons that they're not used very well is quite often values are one word statements. So a very common value that I hear is integrity. It seems that pretty much every organization on the planet has integrity within their values. But define integrity. So when I ask my clients how they would define integrity, some would say it's being honest. Some would say it's doing the right thing. C.S. Lewis, the author of Alice in Wonderland, defined integrity of doing the right thing even when nobody is looking. I define integrity as doing what's right, not what's easy. So by having a single word for a value is really ineffective, because there's lots and lots of different ways to interpret a single word. So when you're trying to use values as a way to challenge people, to challenge poor behavior or lack of output or whatever it is, then whose interpretation of that definition of that word are you using to challenge? When we've got values that mean something and mean the same thing to everybody, not only can we use those as a basis to recruit from, so we use values-based recruitment, so we only recruit people who buy into those values, and we only promote people who are great matches for those values, then actually by saying to somebody, for example, one of my favorite questions to ask somebody who's not performing well is, what value are you currently out of alignment with? Now, if you ask that question to somebody who considers those values to be really, really important, then actually that has far more effect, far more impact than just putting somebody on a performance management process. Because the bias associated with performance management systems is that it's an excuse to be able to fire somebody in 3 months. But if you've got people who really understand what the organizational values are really bought into those organizational values, if you say to somebody, what you're currently out of alignment with this value, that's going to bother them, and they're going to want to improve. They're going to want to make sure that they can become back in alignment with it. They might not like it in the moment, because we're all human beings and we can all get defensive. Again, we talked about earlier about how the human brain works. But actually what we do then is we plant a seed in that person to make them think that when their emotions have calmed down and the logical brain has been given time to kick in, that's going to be a seed that's planted. I'm out of alignment with the values. I need to do something about it, because when I'm out of alignment with my business values, that hurts. That bothers me. I don't like that. I'm uncomfortable and I want to do something about it. So getting your values right, making sure that your entire staff are really bought into those values, that's your position to then challenge people who aren't performing the way that they need to.
I see. Well, yeah, thank you so much for those points. Like, well, for me, it's still hard because like each person has different characteristics, right? So they might take it personally if it hits their emotion, and then that compromises everything because
Yeah.
if especially if you are directly under that supervision, so that's gonna be very hard to voice out.
It is, and it's one of the hardest things as a subordinate is to challenge your line manager when they're not performing. And sometimes we need to be the leader that we wish we have. That's a great Simon Sinek quote. If we can be the leader that we wish we had, then we provide the right kind of influence at the right time to the right people. And if we're not sleeping, if we're bothered by the fact that we're not doing something, that's kind of the sign that you need to go and say something.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And yes, for anyone else who would love to ask questions or share their insights, you can put it on chat. So because Andy will be still on the on Zoom, be with us along with the session, and we have right now the other guest speaker that will talk for the next topic that we have today. So, Andy, thank you so much, really, for buying the time for Linda. That was a really good discussion as well that you have shared with us. So, for the next topic that we have the power of effective leadership in the business world. So, this is still in relation or somehow like a bridge to a different area of leadership that will be shared to us by the next speaker that we have, which is a senior engineering project manager, Linda Nukaidi, and very highly skilled and experienced in management, budgeting, cost control, stakeholders management, piping engineering, productions, process engineering, well regarded for people management, planning, and continuous improvement. And without further ado, I will now give the screen to Linda.
All right, thank you so much, Phil. I have to apologize. At the moment, we are having electrical downtime. Let me put it the energy downtime. Okay, so right now, but in a couple of minutes, it's going to be restored. Thank you so much. Today's topic lies on the power of effective leadership in the business world. and how our leadership style affect, or will I say make positive impact to our overall business objectives or organizational goal. You say in today's fast-paced and evolving business world, the style of leadership has have become one of the best sustaining strategies in driving business visions and goals. So these leadership styles and patterns has its own way of influencing and shaping the organizational futures. Not only that, anyway, it has a reasonable degree of how businesses stay ahead of others and how they stay above the curve despite all challenges. Many may think that leadership is all about issuing directives and orders. With the way the world is changing right now, everything in it is, including business, are changing. So many businesses strive to stay afloat and keep up with the trend and patterns of its evolving world. So therefore, effective leadership plays a pivotal role in driving positive change. They play a crucial role in fostering growth and achieving success within an organization. So this actually goes beyond individual leaders. Okay, that's because effective leadership embodies a set of qualities and practices that can impact on the overall business strategy. So in this webinar, we will explore the 8 transformative power of effective leadership, their key attributes and the impacts they have on individuals and organizations. They comprises of the visionary leadership, the dynamic leadership, supportive leadership, operational leadership, transactional and transformative leadership, networking leadership, and aggressive leadership, and finally the interesting leadership. So we will discuss these leadership prowess and the impact it could have in driving business in the business realm. I don't know if I will be able to speak on all of them because of time. And in case we run out of time at the point of delivering this, you can find some of my my articles on LinkedIn and this community, and probably on my YouTube channel to get some business tips. So I hope, though I haven't done much, but definitely I will get there someday. So let's kick off with number 1, which is the visionary leadership. The impact of this type of leadership prowess focuses more on the vision and the future of the business. Its idea and its target is all about the future. You see, about 80% of leaders doesn't practice this visionary leadership. I must tell you that they may have their vision stated bluntly and plastered at every corner of their inner chamber to serve as a reminder of where they're going to and where they need to be. But in terms of business, but how they convey these ideas or lead through these ideas could pose as a Mount Everest to them. And those that actually practice this kind of leadership pushes beyond the present. So it doesn't mean that the present is neglected, but the thought of the conquered today in business is all about maintenance. But the future, I must say, is the trend. And this particular thing is always at the back of the mind of these leaders anyway. And it's just their mindset. So let me explain what I mean by all this. Let me give you some example. Prior to this time, hydrocarbon has been the source of energy. Its use knows no bound, ranging from energy to petroleum, petrochemical, polymers, and pharmaceuticals, and so many of them. So it looks as if it can never be substituted. But in recent times, there's this need for cleaner energy. The invention of electrical vehicles are here. Hydrocarbons are gradually being replaced by clean energy. So visionary leaders, they saw the need to diversify and migrate to clean energy. They saw the future, okay? And what they see the alternatives and they lead through it. And they convey their visions and finally get them implemented. So what I'm trying to say in essence is this kind of leadership approach, people, people that practice this, it propels the status of any business to institute state of innovation. I must tell you, any organization, okay, I think we are back. Phil? Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Hello?
Yes. I can hear you. Yeah.
Hello? Okay. All right. So, like I said earlier, any organization that, that have leaders of this kind, they should be able to cherish them, because it's mostly their kind of leadership is something that can swiftly determine the line of business strength, okay? The next generational business, that what it should look like, because they're always there to forecast the future, and they are always the pathfinders. So the impact of this leadership, like I said earlier, is more of they are more of the ones, determining. They are just in the business. Let me put it this way: the leadership prowess they have in the business realm is that their business will always be the leading, and them because they are the pathfinders, and because they are much more of the innovators. Okay, so they have that foundation of business rule. They can actually lay a foundation of business rule that will leave other businesses to tag along as followers. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is, any organization thinking of becoming a pathfinder should look out for these leaders. They can find them among the neglected. Okay, that's why I always encourage corporate leaders not to underestimate anyone. Okay, you can never know where you can find these individuals. Okay, you can never know where you can find the best ornament. So you can try and conduct field visits. Of course, you could probably fish them out in one of your visits. Okay, you can never tell where you can get all your checklists ticked. So I must tell you, one good advice I must tell to business owners that may actually look out for these individuals is for them to frown at politics. Okay, because it will always be, a thin scale that will be clouding their sense of judgment undetected. So they should always remember that raw diamonds can never be found in a sweet and loving terrain. It's almost always be in the rough. So number 2 I'm going to talk about there is the dynamic leadership. Okay, it cuts across almost all styles of leadership, and I would say that the impact of dynamism in leadership is all about finding the right leadership balance in the business world. Okay, so this type of leadership uses its dynamic strategy to identify business opportunities so that business can flourish. The leaders, okay, exhibiting this type of leadership prowess and navigate through a maze of options, analyzing complex situations, okay, weighing all risk, and making both choices and strategic. They're making some strategic decisions that can propel the organization towards success, even in the stomachs. Let me put it this way: even when it's much more challenging. Furthermore, exceptional leaders with this kind of leadership traits, they always have that strategic mindset and a deep understanding of the business landscape. They are adept at analyzing trends and at every and they are very good at identifying business opportunities, and they actually make good informed decisions that drive the overall business growth. So they have the ability to think critically, those that actually have this kind of leadership, and the impact they always make in the business world is mostly about, focusing on a right balance between their short-term and long-term goals, and they try as much as they can to incorporate almost all the leadership styles. In business, it's mostly about how to propel businesses to a greater success, and how to lead your crew so that you can balance all. So on this aspect, these individuals, they actually adapt to changes in the industry, which actually enables them to, steer their organization towards success, and even in challenging situations. So if anyone is eyeing this type of leadership, the person must be flexible and dynamic in nature. So, because in business world, nothing is constant. And moreover, this kind of leadership is not just focused on short-term gains, like I said earlier. It's mostly about finding the right balance between short-term and long-term vision of the organization. So, and one more thing is that they actually try as much as they can to invest on their employees' professional development. It's quite true that almost all personnel, almost all leaders strive to do that. But there are some leadership styles, the impact they make is much more bigger than the others. There are some that are focusing on something else. The other ones are focusing on others. So that's what I'm trying to make you understand here, that these individuals that exhibit this kind of leadership prowess, they focus more on on grooming, having their employees, professional development, empowering them to reach to their full potential. Okay, they also foster a culture of continuous learning, and make provisions for career development and mentorship also, because they tend to create a succession plan, okay, for their leaders, for the upcoming ones anyway, for the future ones to succeed them. So the overall impact it has in the business world is all about sustainability and growth. So the next one I have to talk about here is the supportive leadership, and the impact it has is all about empowering and motivating individuals, especially their workers. So they offer them a kind of autonomy, right? And like an autonomy for them to own their job, and have the opportunity to grow, learn, and grow. So leaders in this that has this kind of thread, they sit behind and assist them, support their workers or their subordinates from behind. So, and they allow them to grow and stabilize. It's not one thing is to grow, another thing is to stabilize. So you can imagine a leader that knows how to unleash the hidden potential of their team member. You could possibly imagine what they could achieve when they set out a particular task, or as a collective team, or you know, you can imagine the kind of supportive ideas that they may actually bring to the table. So all this, like I said earlier, have some impact in the business, and you know, and milestones and opportunities and achievements, you know, when they display them concurrently within the short time frame. So it's something that any leader out there should be able to, you know, incorporate into their leadership styles, you know. So like I said earlier, leaders with this kind of leadership prowess, they create an environment where everyone feels empowered, an environment where everyone feels supported and motivated, and to give in their best. They are like the ultimate cheerleaders, boosting the morale and encouraging their teams to reach for the stars. And one other thing is that this kind of leadership focuses on nurturing a culture of growth. We are talking about leadership, excuse me, whose leaders are like gardeners tending to the growth of their team members. So they provide a fertile ground for learning and for development and for personal growth. And by fostering a culture that embraces continuous improvement, and of course, they hope to create a workforce that is ready to tackle any challenge that comes their way. And number 4, I wanted to talk about here is about the transactional and the transformative leadership. And you know, many of us know about this kind of leadership prowess, and you know that focuses mainly on operations and openness to generational timing in business. Okay, every one of us know about that, right? So this type of leadership understands the intricate art of communication and trust, and you know, to enhance the overall productivity. The point I'm trying to make here is the leaders that are transactional alone, okay, the practices autonomy and encourages collaboration among teams. They are not there. In fact, let me put it this in a blunt way. They aren't there to seek to nurture. Okay, they are not there to nurture anyone. Let me put it bluntly that way. But they are there. You know, it's just all about business. Okay, it's either you're an expert or nothing. So they use this kind of approach to set a compelling direction for everyone on board, and aligning them to their efforts towards the business goal. So the impact this kind of leadership make in the business realm actually is to transact a seamless and transparent flow of business objectives throughout the organization. Meanwhile, the transformative leadership have a different idea on how to impact the business world. And it's all about using transformational approach to enhance the overall productivity. The leaders that the leaders, this particularly, or the leaders that have this kind of leadership traits, okay, they aim at establishing a strong ethical frame and ensuring that the organization operates within the integrity and the trust of all both internal and external stakeholders, like people who are working with them. And so these amazing leaders, okay, they possess some kind of exceptional interpersonal skills that enables them to create a future of inclusivity and innovation. And I must tell you, they always have that idea and articulate their visions and expectations and strategies to their team members. So they welcome feedbacks, okay, and they see critics as a strategy of growth and improvement. So the impact of this particular leadership have in the business realm is about resilience and flexibility. And I must say that it has some kind of effective power in adapting to change, because in business realm, nothing is permanent, nothing is constant. And they create an avenue for innovation, like I said earlier. So in a nutshell, they encourage transformations in all overall business strategy and objectives. And the number 5th aspect I wanted to talk about is the networking and relationship leadership. So the impact it have in the business realm anyway, you may see this particular leadership, it has it focuses more on building networks and relationship. You see, the power of effective leadership, okay, extends beyond the immediate impact on employees and team members, as its impact goes beyond the internal dynamics of organization. And this kind of leadership prowess, it aims at the use of power of socializing to push business beyond where it was, or to a greater height. Let me put it that way. So the influential leaders, they uses this kind of leadership power to shape the business, to shape and reshape businesses in the business world. And its impact drives meaningful change in so many organizations, as well as the broader view of business landscape. So it's all about building relationship within and outside the organization, that captures the interest of both partners and stakeholders, both internal and external ones, such that businesses can thrive. If I must say that so many businesses are, so many persons out there have had some business deal through social network. So leaders like this, that exhibit this kind of leadership trait, understands the intricacies involved in the business realm, including how the economic and the political autonomy thrives in the business world. So their influence extends beyond the immediate spheres of organization, and their top priority, okay, as their top priority is all about shaping reputation and targeting business growth and balancing short-term and long-term success of the business. If I have to explain details in this, many business deals have been sealed, okay, like I said earlier, and they will continue to be sealed in this through this means. Let me put it that way. So so many powerful social gathering, like I keep saying that, I presume you all are quite familiar with the word gathering of the elites. So if you hear that, what comes to your mind in the first place is when you hear about that. So you understand that most businesses, they strive, especially they get connected, they seal so many deals, they keep getting more and more connections and even contracts through this means, because they are within the circle, within that circle, okay? So if anyone out there who is a business owner, or who is in leadership should not underestimate the power of networking and socializing, or I will put it that way, corporate or business relationship, because they can shape and reshape your business in the business realm. They can reshape your business status anyway in the business realm, and they can also determine your business rank in the business realm. Like, we have to put it that way, because many people that understand this, many leaders that understand the idea behind networking, they are using it, they're putting it into practice, and it's working for them. And the number 6 I have to talk about here is the operational leadership, which every one of us knows about. That is more of the fact that it's about managing the day-to-day activities and operation, that is day-to-day activities and the operations of the business in our organization. So the leadership prowess here focuses more on efficiency and productivity and execution. And so it's all about finding the right balance between efficiency and team engagement to drive business success. So the actual impact of this leadership in the business world mostly lies on operational effectiveness and efficiency, productivity and risk management. So this approach isn't born, it is created as a result of offices, of those who manage the day-to-day activities of the organization. So if you find yourself in this kind of leadership, it doesn't mean you aren't unique, or because you truly are. You could exhibit much more, many more things. So, but one good thing about these leaders is that they are highly skilled at developing and implementing processes and systems, and they always offer strategies that can streamline operations and achieve desired outcomes for the organization. So they pay close attention to details, and they monitor performances, performance metrics, and it makes data-driven decisions to improve operational effectiveness. So they are often highly organized, They are highly organized, and they are very good to adapt to problem solving. They are adept to problem solving bottlenecks from miles away in the operations, and enable them to swiftly take actions to mitigate them. The number 7 aspect I need to talk about here is the aggressive leadership. You may be thinking, well, wondering why aggression in leadership made the list in the power of effective leadership in the business world. Well, aggressive leadership could be characterized as a forceful, assertive style of leadership, because it often involves being highly competitive, ambitious and assertive in pursuing business goals and driving results. You could adopt this leadership approach, to set high expectations for your team, pushing yourself and your team to achieve a challenging goal. It always gets you on the tiptoes, actually, but it could actually help you, or to shape your mind to swiftly take charge of situation, adapt to changes, and make quick decisions. and exhibit a strong sense of determination and drive the overall business to success. So the point there is when they say a desperate situation calls for a desperate measure. Some good leaders actually adopt this kind of leadership traits. So this kind of leadership style. So, but one thing about them is that they care less about their personal reputation. As long as they keep doing their business, and as long as the business head, their business head is floating above the turbulency level, they are very much okay. They lead with all manner of tricks. I must say that up their sleeve to get things done. But I must say that. But it doesn't mean that they aren't professional or the work ethics is like 100 miles away from them. From them, okay? So it's all about their perception at that moment and the overall idea of how to conquer, how to lead and how to achieve. So they believe that using conventional means or approach is the best way to start afloat, as long as no illegal means, okay, is adopted in the process. And finally, the uninterested, interesting leadership. You must be wondering what style of leadership concept is that? Well, the approach focuses on piping the interest of your workers or the team members, as it could have some kind of effective. It could be effective in some certain situation. As it creates a sense of curiosity and intrigue among team members. It could encourage the independent thinking or independent thought. People can think outside the box on their own without being told what to do, or how, even though actually many workers already know what to do. But there are some time, I must say that there are some time when people doing what they used to do every day over and over again, probably in a year or two, they start losing the interest about what they are doing. It doesn't mean, it's just like the job now is like to it. So if you are a leader, you can adopt this means to pipe the interest, to reignite the interest of your team members, so that they can now be interested. They can, the right word to put there is like they will be curious. They need to know more. They need to move more. They need to do more about feel the flow. The passion have to come there. So if you use this kind of approach, you're going to pipe their interest to continue to do their job. So it actually, give them that kind of curious mind, such that they strive to capture their leaders' attention and approval. So leaders you could appear as if you are uninterested or detached, but any of the leaders that does that anyway, you could, when you see them from afar, you know that they actually possess a unique ability to engage and captivate their team members when it matters most. So these leaders that with a composed demeanor, which could be mistaken as a disinterest. Meanwhile, it is not. However, they have that deeper understanding of their team's need and motivation. So they strategically chose when and how to show interest and engagement, and to their team members, using some powerful tools to grab their attention. and inspire their team members. So imagine your boss, who used to appear nonchalant about so many things, suddenly become possessive and interesting, in a particular business. So it will pipe some interest, right? It will pipe some person's interest. Okay, wow, what is going on? So the curiosity here could serve as a driving force to achieve this particular goal. So it is important to know when to, use this type of approach, because if you misuse it, you will give a different message. Okay, you convey a different message to the organization you are working with and to your team members. But if you know how to apply this principle, to apply this particular trick, let me use that word, this particular principle, you can achieve more, especially those who are working in, let me put it, in a system that is, the same thing over and over again. Let me put it, people who are working in a process systems that keep doing the same thing over and over again. Some workers could lose interest in that. So you can use that at some point, but not all the time. So this leadership, approach is much more beneficial to employees. And as long as they meet up to their annual targets, who cares? So the impact is all about reigniting and the burning desire and, piping out the interest of among team members to achieve better results. So in conclusion, I must say that the power of effective leadership extends, beyond the, like I said, employees and organizations. So if you are a reputable leader, you can attract and maintain good vibes that can influence the overall business success and reputation in your organization. So your influence, you actually could extend beyond the immediate sphere of the organization. It could reshape the reputation of your company, and it could push your business to some extent, a particular growth or heights that you wanted to attain. And you could also get some long-term and business, probably those who are practicing the visionary aspect, those who are very much looking at the future, what the business trends will look like. So you as a leader could have this blend of qualities and skills, that will set you apart, from the rest of other leaders. And you could have that power to reshape the business world through your leadership prowess.
Thank you so much, Linda. And as what Srini mentioned earlier, such valuable insights and knowledge, and it really like you really brought your experience along with the words that you have shared with us today regarding leadership. So we do appreciate that perspective that you have shared in this platform, and the same as with Andy as well. So such great topics, and yeah, we went over the actual threshold of time, but definitely it's worth the knowledge being shared. So such a valuable thing that we have gathered today in the Let Us Talk It event. So we also appreciate those who are still watching live on YouTube, though we have extended the length or the duration of the talk for today. So if you wish to have collaborations with our speakers, you can just search their names on LinkedIn to send them a chat if you wish to like talk to them in private. So our first speaker is Andy Nisevic. You can review the actual video. The last name is spelled Nisevic. So search him on LinkedIn. He's very approachable. And for the second speaker, it's Linda, Nwokide. So you can search her as well if you wish to interact with our speakers offline. So before we actually proceed on closing the session today, I'd encourage the speakers, if you have anything to promote. Let's go with Andy first. If you have future events or seminars or any business you'd like to promote, that our viewers might be interested.
Thanks, Phil. I really appreciate that. So I'm conscious that this is an international audience, so not many of you might be based in the UK. But on my website, www.onedegree.uk, at the top on the front page, there is a link to a free webinar that will take you through 10 steps that you can follow that will help you instantly improve your leadership. It's a free webinar. It's available on demand. Just go register, fill out your details, and you can have it there ready for whenever you want it.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for that. So you heard that one right. So it's free. So feel free to take advantage of that. And yeah, Linda, anything you'd like to promote?
It's okay. I have written some articles recently. Equally, you can actually visit my YouTube page where you can learn one or two business tips and some articles that I've written on the biz community and LinkedIn as well. So for those who are looking for or want to know one or two about businesses, they can actually visit my YouTube channel there, and they can learn one or two from there.
All right, fantastic. So yes, the YouTube is her name, Linda Nuanced. So feel free to check on the videos uploaded there as well. So we thank you so much, speakers, for attending despite the challenges, especially for Linda. Yeah, had the electricity, the settings, the challenges, but still managed to give us the valuable insights that she prepared for us today. I really appreciate that one, and for Sir Andy for taking time today, and definitely also giving his valuable experience and insights with the topic. So to formally close, from Let Us Talk It team, thank you so much, speakers, and thank you so much, viewers. And for next Wednesday, we will bring you two new topics and two great speakers as well. Still the same, to share your valuable insights just as what you have witnessed today. So thank you so much for extending your time and appreciate you as always, and keep safe. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank